Welcome, science friends, to cell membranes. Cell membranes are also sometimes referred to as plasma membranes, and cells need an inside and an outside. The cell membrane is that boundary. It separates the cell insides from its outside environment. And things need to be able to go into the cell, and things need to be able to go out of the cell. So for example, food, salts, oxygen, water, those are some of the things that need to go inside of a cell so that your cell can go through its processes. And as it's going through those processes, it's inevitably going to make waste or other products. So those things need to go out of the cell. But the cell membrane helps regulate what goes in and what comes out. So how do we build a barrier that keeps the watery stuff inside and the watery stuff on the outside? We need to create that membrane. So what substance do we know that doesn't mix with water? Well, thinking about all of our macromolecules, there's one that really dislikes water, and that would be our lipids or fats. So if you remember, oil and water don't mix. They are not friends. Oil is very hydrophobic. We have 5 main functions of a membrane. It's a protective barrier. It keeps bad things out and good things in. It helps regulate the transport in and out of the cell. This is called selective permeability. They allow other cells to recognize other cells. So, while your body is working, it goes, oh, I know that is another cell just like me. The different surfaces, they need to be able to connect to other cells. So if you think about your skin cells, we don't have holes. They all connect to each other. And so our cell membranes need to be able to make those connections and bind together. And also, one of the more important things is that it contains the cytoplasm, or the sort of gel fluid stuff on the inside of the cell that holds all of our organelles in place. This is a really cool picture. It's an actual real live picture of a cell membrane, and I think that's so crazy cool that we have a physical picture, an actual picture of a cell membrane. Technology. So when we're talking about those lipids that make up a cell membrane, it is a very special type of lipid. It's called a phospholipid. And if we break down those different pieces, phospho means phosphorus, lipid means fat, which we should already know. And when we look at our cell membranes, we have a double layer, or it's called a bilayer. Bi means 2, so we have 2 layers of those phospholipid molecules. And looking a little bit closer at those phospholipids, one part of it is actually hydrophilic, that is the phosphate side, and the lipid side, as we know, is hydrophobic. Well, this is just another way to show us the same thing. We have those hydrophilic heads. They're very attracted to water, so they're going to be on that watery side, whether that's the inside or the outside of the cell. And the phobic tails are going to be pointing towards each other because they're lipids. They absolutely hate water, so they're going to be near each other, away from the water. But now that we've made a barrier, this creates a problem. How do we get things into the cell, and how do we get things out of the cell? This is solved by a semi-permeable membrane. This means that some things, but not all things, can get through our membrane. So semi means half or part. Permeable means allowing things to pass through. So some things can go straight through that membrane, but not everything. So what are some of the things we need to get across our membrane into and out of our cell? We need sugars. We'll learn more about why we need sugars, but sugars are essentially fuel. We need lipids to help build molecules. We need amino acids to help build proteins. We need oxygen to help with cellular respiration. We need water as well for lots of different things. We need salt to help with some of our cell processes. And of course, waste needs to leave the cell after we go through cell processes. A great example of a semi-permeable object is something we all have in our kitchens. That is a sieve, or a strainer, a colander. It has lots of words. But some things can pass through, in this case, liquids, and some things cannot pass through. And in this example, that's rice. So it's semi-permeable. Some things can get through, but not all of the things. Another cool thing about our cell membranes is that they are what we call a fluid mosaic. And this is a way to sort of show all of the different pieces that make up our cell membrane, because it's not just those phospholipids. It's called a fluid mosaic model because fluid means that it's pretty movable. Like a fluid moves around, so does our cell membrane. It's not very rigid like a cell wall would be. And mosaic because it has all of these different pieces. We have the phospholipids, we have different proteins, we have all sorts of things that help make up the membrane. So when we're looking at those different proteins, they're a sort of door. They help things get through that membrane without bumping into those phospholipids. They are really focused on the really big things that need to get in and out. It could be waste. Sugars are actually fairly big if they're not broken down. Amino acids can be really big. Those R groups are pretty big. And even water sometimes needs help because we use a lot of water, so it needs more ways to get into our cells. These protein channels, like I said, are like doors, but they are very specific. Just like how our enzymes have specific substrates, these proteins can only carry specific molecules through that cell membrane. It's really important to note that larger molecules like sugar can't fit through the little tiny gaps between the phospholipids, so they need help from a protein channel. So it's essentially a doorway through into and out of the cell. And because these proteins are very specific, it's like that childhood game you may or may not have had where you had different shaped pegs and you had to fit them through the right shaped hole, otherwise it wouldn't go through. Just like our enzymes with substrates, each protein has a very specific thing that can pass through it. So only the amino acid channel can take in amino acids. It won't let water or sugar or waste through it. It's only for amino acids. That was a brief look into cell membranes. I hope it helped.